What's the weirdest or dumbest thing you've done because you were horny? Dumbest thing. Unprotected sex with my ex. Weirdest, had sex in a graveyard. So I was going shopping with a girl. I needed shoes and she was looking for some. Apparently she found some good looking ones. Of course they were on the bottom of the shelf. So she bends over and says, "Look, they look nice." Meanwhile, I was sitting behind her, saw her panties and went like, yeah, I should get them. Luckily, she had good taste, but I never looked at those shoes before I did wear them. This isn't my personal horny story, but it does work for this thread. I used to live with my best friend and his girlfriend. One day my friend was working and it's just me and her. I'm sitting on my computer with headphones on, which is in the living room. She is laying on the couch watching Netflix. After about an hour my wireless headset died because I forgot to charge it. Once I was able to hear the noise from outside my game, I heard my friend's girl moaning on the couch. I look over and she is masturbating under a blanket. She opened her eyes and we made uncomfortable eye contact. She laughs nervously and says, "Is it cool if I finish? I'm extremely horny and IDKY. If this wasn't my best friend's girl, I would have taken advantage of this situation in a heartbeat because she was very attractive. But I just said, sure. I can leave if that'll help." "Oh, it's fine. It's kind of a turn on that you're in here since it's sort of taboo." Weirdest ducking sexual encounter of my life. In high school my sister had a hot blonde friend I was crazy horny for. One day blonde comes over and is hanging out with sister in her room. I go to the bathroom and disable the toilet. Blonde eventually uses bathroom and of course it doesn't flush. Afterwards I go in and drink her pee. Picked up a prostitute and gave her money to have sex with me. I'll never do that again. 10 times was enough. Performed analingus on an ex after she did 35 minutes of yoga and 25 minutes on the stationary bike. Not one of my prouder moments, but I was extremely horny and wanted to show my girl how badly I loved her body. Her ass aroma, coupled with ass sweat and slime, was stuck to my nose and lips and chin for days. It was very strong, but I guess I don't have any regrets. In high school my girlfriend and I had maybe had sex a few times tops. One day, I go to drop her off at her house and parked in the driveway. We make out vigorously until she eventually has to go inside as to not draw suspicion. Right before getting out of my car, she goes, "If I could I would duck the it out of you right now." She proceeded to walk into her house and leave 17-year-old me with downstairs rigor enough to split a diamond down the middle. So I drove home fully erect and did the rational thing the second I pulled into my own driveway around midnight with both my parents asleep. I jizzed into a leftover Cool Ranch Doritos bag that happened to be in my backseat. My entire life has been on a downhill ever since that point. I guess I have a few contenders. Dates chained with 2 other guys at summer camp in Scouts. Because 14. In high school. Whacked it while sleeping at a friend's house on his bedroom floor and then realized I had nowhere to put it. So I busted in my hand and ate it. 0/10 would not do again. In college. Ducked a rather homely girl who was kinda crazy and asked to stay the night. Then did it again the next semester because I'm a slow learner. I'm sure there are other episodes, but these are the ones that stand out. Boosted a level 100 on Moon Guard. I used to visit my older brother at his college. Of course, it being a college, girls were far looser than my high school. So I would make up a backstory. Because no 20-year-old would duck a 16-year-old. That I am actually a freshman at UCLA. Across the country from my brother's college. It actually was reasonably successful. I made out with one girl. Got to second base with another. Had a 3-way kiss with 2 ladies. Saw my first V. And got whiskey D. I regret the last part. Jerked off into a pair of my wife's panties one night hoping she'd wear them to work the next day. I hollowed out and ducked an orange once. Citrus in your pee hole is the opposite of gleeful. Weirdest thing. Hot dogging. I put my hard cock in between the recipient's butt cheeks after we were both horny and naked. Basically humping us both to orgasm with their ass muscles with moans of "Don't duck me. Don't duck me. Don't fully insert your D inside me. It'll hurt. Don't duck me." I don't get why it was said, but I complied to their wishes. Definitely an odd night. Dumbest thing. Petting my then soon to be ex-wife back after she admitted to cheating on me right before I returned from a long deployment. I'm with my first serious girlfriend in high school. We could not find a place to fool around for a few days. Immediately after school we agree that we need to find a place now. After driving around for 45 minutes we settle on an abandoned shipping container with a carpeted floor behind a liquor store. So basically a filthy homeless person's makeshift house. 5 years later I married her. Well, I made this account. Gave my boyfriend a handjob on the subway while we were sitting down during peak hours. We were sitting in the end seats. Thinking back on it, I'm sure people realized what I was doing and just never said anything. Watching American Sniper with a bunch of friends, including a girl I was kinda seeing at the time. She and I were snuggling on the couch, and I put her hand on my D over my pants. She reaches under the pants and gives me a handy. It was a god-awful handy. My family and I were on the wage, so came in my pants, which were only slightly below my waist. Then I waited for like an hour, still under the blanket, then pulled my pants up. Had sex on a roof. Shingles are incredibly abrasive. Banged out a local waist down paralyzed chick, but she's tiny so moving her around was fine. And yes, dat pussy works. On a bench on a public walkway in front of the beach at around 10 PM. Fingered a girl while she had her super long legs. She was like 6'2" in flats. I'm 5'10", spread wide. She's moaning like hell. Then another couple of course came around the corner and stood for 5 seconds watching before we realized. Lunch break. Needed to go 15 blocks on my sim to get the booty. Flying. Absolutely flying. So get hit by taxi. Then push the scooter the rest of the way. Got the booty. Then went to the hospital. My collarbone is permanently ducked up. Ducked my boyfriend during intermission of a play he was in. I had initially come to see him to grab my keys I had left at home that morning, but I had been horny the whole day. He was wearing a ridiculous costume from the early 19th century, but I really didn't care. I just wanted to ride his D. I don't think I've ever had a quicker orgasm tbh. Drove 60 miles to get head from a semi-fat yet pretty chick that had a crush on me. Ended up ducking because duck it, why not? A month later she drove 100 miles to come duck me. This happened once every month to 2 months till the day before she got married. Literally ducked her the day before she got married. I think my wife counts as the weirdest. I love that weirdo though. Whack it on the outside steps of my old church while waiting to get picked up. I was like 14. Ducked my size Barbie that belonged to my sister. Biggest shame I have up to date. Ducked a girl I thought was a lesbian. She had only had girlfriends. Not my fault. Wanted to get away from a couple of rather forward women for an evening, so hung out with her as I thought it was safe. Anyway, we've been together 6 months now, so that's fun. I like to say I turned her. She does not. Got a hand job at a strip club. Not sure how well this fits, but it just came back to me, so duck it. Dating my high school girlfriend, so this was about 7 years ago. We were hanging out at my house one day and were arguing about something. I can't remember, but let's cut to when she is all pissed off and about to leave. I am sitting on the couch and she comes downstairs and is walking by me out the door. She is wearing one of my football jerseys, and before she gets to the door I say, "Gonna take my ducking jersey off before you go?" She stops and we just stare at each other. It's just quiet. Nobody else is home, mind you, but someone could have walked in at any moment, and it was like we were telepathic or something. We both knew. It's ducking on. She drops her bag and walks over to me on the couch and gets on top of me, and we start going at it. Harder than ever before. In less than 5 minutes we went from so annoyed at each other to me carrying her through my parents' house ass naked up to my room to finish the deed. It was just the weirdest change in pace in any relationship I've ever had. 7 years later and that memory still gets my juices flowing. I gotta go. When I was about 14 I would go on long trips with my girlfriend, her mom and sister. Lots of hand jobs. Roadhead and finger blasting was done in the backseat of that car. Oh, and we had sex one time too. While her mom is driving. In a ducking VW Jetta. I thought they didn't know. They knew. They were just jealous, right? Not sure if this qualifies, but back in the day when my ex lived with me I often would wake her up with cunnilingus or just good old fashioned insertion. She used to love it. So one day, for science, I decided to rub one out into her nether regions instead. So I slowly lifted the comforter. Keep in mind the entire bed settings were all white. Everything, exposing only what I needed of her. Target was in sight and I was a man on a mission. So I do my thing and then snicker off to the fridge in seek of a well-deserved breakfast. I returned after a few minutes just to peek in and admire the job well done. It was beautiful. You should have seen it. After a moment, and while still asleep, she finally decides to change positions. She further bends one leg and moves her hand from its current resting place, near her face, and lays it straight into my handiwork. Not being able to contain myself, I quickly snickered off again in such delight. I then waited, and waited. I waited longer than expected honestly, and nothing. And just when I thought everything I had worked for was a dud, I hear her jump out of bed shouting, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god," as she ran into the master bathroom. After what seemed like an eternity she shouts, "You mother ducker." I thought I started my period in the bed. As one could imagine, I couldn't stop the laughter after that for quite some time. I could honestly still hear her voice. Her reaction was just too priceless. Licking someone's finger after it had been in my ass. A can of cat food emptied into a Ziploc bag and heated in a bath of warm water. No joke. I masturbated to basketball dribbling and shooting styles. That was the one and only time I did it. Bought a Vive. It's a good premise but supported less than a Nintendo console. Right now is pretty much a pov porn machine. I masturbated while driving in broad daylight. I am a female. I 69'd with a hot dude on the floor of the undergrad bathroom between the toilets under the stall wall. I have masturbated in a bathroom stall at Arby's. When I was 13 I took my best friend's sister's phone. She is the same age as me and I've known her since kindergarten. And went into their bathroom and used her phone to take pictures and a video of my D. The next day my mother got a message from her mom that they needed to talk. I had to make a formal apology to her family and they forgave me. I'm glad they didn't press charges or anything, especially since her mom is a lawyer and her dad is a cop. Ducked my girlfriend while camping, with my dad and little brother in the same tent. I thought we had kept it on the down low until the next morning my dad catches me alone and says next time, take her for a walk on the beach. So that night we went for a walk on the beach and I learned 2 valuable lessons. Only doggy in the sand, no missionary, and local kids are very quiet when creeping around in the dark. I was 16 and on a cruise trip with my father and his wife. It was night, and I saw a 30-something-year-old woman standing with tears in her eyes, looking out over the sea. I found her attractive, so I walked over to her and told her it's fine even though I have no idea why she's been crying. I had to listen to her talking for 45 minutes about a divorce. She asked me how old I were and I said 18, even though age of consent is 16 here. After a while we went to her room and had sex. She was very attractive, but I would never have tried this if it weren't for the fact that I hadn't masturbated for 3-4 days prior. We were 16. My girlfriend and I went skiing with a group of friends. Rode with one of them in his mom's blazer to the ski lodge. Around noon we decided to take a duck break. We head back to his mom's blazer and do the deed. As we are laying in the backseat afterward, I'm like, hey, I don't remember there being a sunroof in his mom's blazer. Wait, our stuff isn't here. Their seats weren't leather. So yeah, we ducked in some total stranger's blazer. Same color, who left their doors unlocked. We got dressed so fast and split. We weren't caught. Told my friend about it 10 years later and had a good laugh. I can't believe we considered ducking in his mom's blazer, let alone a stranger's. Goes to show how horny teenagers are. I live in Pennsylvania and a friend of mine's sister lived up in New York. We talk for a couple weeks before she invites me up to party with her. Only problem is she lives 6 hours away, plus side she is ridiculously hot, so duck it, I'll drive this itch. Get there, we immediately start doing shots and I'm 19 at this point, so I am a lightweight. This does not end well. Anyway, an hour or 2 later we start going at it and everything's fine. I could keep it up but I could not preform at all. Wake up in the morning and I'm feeling the hangover from ducking her, and when she wakes up she throws me out for a couple things I don't even remember. But I luckily had family living closer to there, so I end up driving another hour to their house feeling Montezuma's revenge. It was just the night from hell. Drove 40 miles with my fuel light on to duck my crazy ex without a penny to my name. You have never seen a methodic feather a clutch so lightly in your life. I was not the horny one, but my FWB convinced me to have a sex upstairs at our church while church service was going on. He was also the brother of my best friend at the time, who immediately found out and assured me I was going to hell in a friendly manner. Of course, we've laughed about it so many times since. Pulled one out in a Greyhound bathroom in less time than it would have taken to take a dump. Solo membership of the Mile High Club. I had been dating my then boyfriend for a few months in high school. We were both virgins. We had done everything else except sex, which was tricky because we both lived at home and all our parents worked from home, so there was literally no chance to sneak around. Reddit. We were extremely horny teenagers. I have no regrets whatsoever. One day, in the heat of the moment, we decided to buy a tent from a hardware store and pitch it in a small wooded forest near our houses. The tent took half an hour to pitch and then we ducked for like 5 minutes. He bought me dessert after. We went back a week later and a homeless gentleman had taken over the tent. I still laugh to this day. Rush into relationships. Get married. My ex and I went through a phase where we would have a sex in random places. For example, his roof or a bar bathroom. It was the 4th of July and we were bar hopping and already drunk by mid-afternoon. We spotted a great roof that looks easily accessible. Just had to climb a fence onto this little mini roof thing and up one more level. I got up to the roof first. Easily, I should add. And halfway through he fell because he was wearing skinny jeans and I guess he couldn't get his leg high enough. We spent the rest of the day in the ER getting stitches. I'll never forget his face during the fall. Pure panic. And then embarrassment as the guy who lived there yelled at us AMD chased us away. Not me, but a friend of a friend put Mentos on his D and stuck it into cola. Made a V out of canned Lev wax mounted on an empty toilet paper roll. Was great for 10 seconds till it turned into a crumbled mess of sticky wax. Texted my ex and ducked her. Took me 6 months to get rid of her before that and after took another 6. This guy wanted me to not shower or use deodorant for 2 days, go to the gym, and then come to his house straight from the gym still in my workout clothes. I thought it was weird and a little gross, but he was hot and I really wanted to see him naked, so oh grave a circumflex a diaresis. Checks back to look at life between 16 and 45, less than, all at it. Shelly. Her name was Shelly. Lost my virginity to a girl I had no interest in whatsoever. That was the start of a semester-long depression that almost flunked me out of school. Jerked off to the Cars Candio album artwork. Got my first hand jibber from my first girlfriend when I was 16 on a camping trip. Her mom was in the tent with us and most likely watching. I didn't give a duck though. It was the first time I had ever gotten off and holy it. I'm 26 now but I doubt I'll ever forget it. Hey, I ducked my mom's boss's daughter, who also happened to be married. She found out and obviously she got royally pissed. Luckily her boss never quite found out, until now. She still works for him, though. I was 16. Had sex with a stripper in rural Kentucky. I was 21, lonely, and idiotic. Fortunately, there were no STDs involved. Still not my best idea. Tried to bang the groom's married aunt at a wedding who was twice my age and her husband was stood right there. I was trying all the moves. I was also ducking hammered by the way. Like 3 bottles of wine, loads of coffee and then hammering down drinks at the bar drunk. Vomited and slept in a bathtub that night levels of drunk. As a kid, like age 8 or 9, I was desperate so I ducked a Jabba the Hutt toy. This one if I remember correctly. After hitting up the strip club, I picked up a hooker off the street who was obviously high on crack at the time and she blew me without a condom. Fairly sure I have syphilis or something now. Spent the ages of 15-17ish camming, for free, no less, for strangers on the internet because I found it really hot. Still do, but I'm in a public facing job now. So many ways that could have gone wrong for everyone concerned. Yes, I'm a girl. Unprotected sex with randos from the bars in Hollywood on coke binged up nights. Far from my weirdest. but by far the dumbest. Drove an hour late at night with a tire that was going flat through a dangerous town with 1/2 tank of gas with my phone battery at 30% battery life. It ended up dying on my way back home, just to get some pussy. Probably when I gave my sleeping ex-wife a facial. Then again, still got off. Dumbest thing was probably giving another chance to the guy who gave me my worst consensual sexual experience. Tiny D. Came in less than 20 seconds both times. Craziest would be fucking a woman over twice my age after meeting her in a drag show that very night. Didn't know how old she was. Found out via Facebook the next day. As a teenager, I slipped out of my house and went down the street to meet my BF. Then we ducked at a church. As an adult, I used to meet my BF behind this huge water fountain feature at the entrance to his subdivision, where we ducked at all hours of the day. We also would look for houses under construction and go in and duck inside. I can't believe I have never been caught ducking in public. Yet.